Hey everybody, I am Jeff Fuller from Fuller Embroidery Works. That is Matthew Enderley from Patchphrase. And today we're joined by DJ Anderson from Digitizing Masterclass. And today we will be working in Floriani Total Control U software, which we have on our computers. We've got a design up and ready to go that Matt kind of threw together. But before that, let's go ahead and drop through some of the comments. We have Cindy King watching from Texas.
Hey, Cindy.
We have Donald. It is hot. I won't deny it. We have Barb LaFawn from Minnesota Custom Made. Donald says it's in the 90s here. Yep, I don't do heat like that. We have Kingsbury Craft watching from Burlington, Washington. And we have in the comments, we've added digitizingmasterclass.com. So DJ is actually really familiar with the software. A little bit. A little bit. Like he might know a thing or two about it. So for those of you that don't know, DJ, do you want to go ahead and kind of introduce your background with the software?
Okay. Yeah. Well, I got started with Floriani software. I guess I bought it at the very first event that it was at, about 15 years ago. And so in the last 14 years, I've worked with the programmers on developing it. So yeah, I know the program inside and out, and it's kind of all the thoughts and tools and things like that I wanted to create and put in the software. And so, yeah, I kind of know it a little bit, and I love it. And I think that most people, when they see it, because it doesn't get advertised a lot, but when people see it, they're pretty blown away with exactly like how much it can actually do. It's a pretty powerful piece of software that the programmers are Pulse Microsystems that do Tajima's DGML software. So, they're a really large digitizing software company. So,
and you have the website where you teach it all and everything too, right?
Yeah. So I teach digitizing. That's generic. It doesn't matter what software. And then I also do one specific for this software program, and it's huge. It's like 915 videos and like over 80 hours of training. So I go really extensive into that software. So.
And that was on digitizingmasterclass.com?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which is right there. Well, over.
it's over there. We need Matt to be in the bottom so you can point at it. But that's okay.
I had no idea what I was doing tonight. I just kind of clicked the link, and I didn't even know I was going to be on screen tonight. So.
Well, there you go. Surprise.
Yeah.
I don't know who this producer is, but they are slacking.
Yep. So anyways, we'll go ahead and pull up Matt's screen because I threw him to the wolves today.
Yes, he did.
Matt's got up a design that he combined a few things together to create, and it is for, of course, back to school with the Embroidery Nerd Star on there. And have at it, Matt.
Okay, so I've never used Floriani. Okay, that's not true. I do have this one that I used a while ago, but I've never used this. So luckily, we have a wonderful instructor right above me. But
the heckler below you. Here we go.
I'm surrounded by the village. No, we're just. But we got so like a quick recap. I got the artwork in, which was pretty easy. I figured that out on my own under File, Import Backdrop. Then you can manipulate it here. I can move it around wherever I want.
One of the great things, though, just so you know, is that you can just do File Open. We don't require import or export. So even with vector artwork, you can just do File Open. It'll open them.
Okay, well, that would have been way easier than. Well, not really way easier. It just would have made more sense. But none of the other software that I've used, you could do open and PNG. So
yeah,
I never expected it.
something that we added a few years ago because it's just easier. Like it doesn't make sense. There's no reason to have an import and export.
Yeah.
Just be open and save.
All right. So let's get to it. So Jeff, over to you. We'll bring up your screen.
See, I haven't shared my screen, so you can't quite pull it up.
I could just let my computer crash again. All right.
I mean,
so,
you could do that. It's been done before. All of a sudden, Matt will say something about Google, and then he'll disappear.
oh, that's never happened.
Not
okay.
once.
So where do we start, DJ?
Well, it depends on how you go about digitizing a design. The first thing is that I do is I figure out what sequence I want to do. So like what order are you going to do it in? So how do you want to approach it?
All right. So gray is the most furthest away from the front of the screen, or the most whatever. It's the first thing I would do, but we're going to do it on gray twill, so we don't have to digitize that. Save a bunch of stitches. So that
We're cheating.
Yes.
By not digitizing a section of it.
It's not cheating. It's called your liberties with
creative winning.
Yeah.
So are you going to put a satin border around the edge?
That we will.
Okay. So what I would do is use the artwork tool and just go down the middle of the blue.
Okay.
Like digitize a
which is
that one.
Is there a way that I can do it on the outside so I can follow the outside line? Set the satin.
I do it down the middle because you can change the offset if you want. But what I do is I use that as my applique in a way. Like so you can copy and paste it. You can do like the fill and then copy and paste and just turn it to a steel satin.
You totally should be holding the control key to put curve nodes in.
Because
if you right click, it ends the object.
Yeah, I found that out.
It's just helping.
Okay.
Oh.
Hey, try this. Do a straight point. Just click right there and then go straight across to the other side. Because you can go back and bend them. Really easy.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Boy, this is fun.
See, I've done this with a Chroma video too. It's a lot of fun.
So, can I also say I'm tired?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
That's not fair. All right.
So you do a straight there, and then the next one, well.
Oh man!
Sorry, DJ.
Jump in.
Here, we'll get
I'm
you.
not following you.
Straight across. And I pushed the
Jeff
button.
knows what he's doing.
Oh, I hit the wrong button, so we'll just ignore that. Straight, alt, straight across. There, straight across. Because then we'll come back and we'll bend the nodes to where we actually want them.
Yeah, and the reason they're doing it on this one is just you got to get familiar with the curves. So this just makes it easier to start. You can just hit Shift S or Shift C, sorry. And that closes it.
Keyboard shortcuts. Very handy. So now we can go in here and adjust the nodes and grab the line and curve it. More how you would expect it to be. So it's nice to have the Bezier. How are we gonna call that? The Bezier? We got to get it like at least semi right.
Bezier.
I don't think so.
Yeah, and so the nice thing about sometimes doing art this way is if you're going to use a cutter, this will allow you to get like really clean lines, because it's like kind of really important when you're using a vinyl cutter or anything like that to get it smooth. So that's a method that I will use a lot of times when I'm doing that.
All right, Matt.
I'm going to bring up a comment from Justin saying, I feel bad for Matt right now. Jeff threw me under the bus digitizing it in Brilliance. I'm just going to say, like, yes, that probably looked a little sad that I couldn't figure out how to do that. But you got to understand, it's literally my first 5 minutes into a software. It doesn't matter. You could be doing 27 years of digitizing in a software, a particular one, for the whole time, and you pick up a new one, and there will be different differences in between it. Like in Willcom, you hold control, or sorry, no, you right click to put a curve node in, and that's not my muscle memory. So just getting used to differences like that will take a little bit, maybe less than a week or something, more than 5 minutes. And
yeah,
telling me to do one thing and DJ telling me to do one thing. So it's not that
so much
software
fun.
doesn't know what it wants to do. It's that I have mental issues that I can't comprehend simple instructions.
So I can simplify and smooth them, but I don't really think I need to do that.
So do you do this as an applique? I mean, do you do like a placement stitch and like a tack down stitch and a border?
I mean, typically when I do stuff like that, even if it's a patch, I do it as applique. I set down a placement, a trim, and a
So if you just click on convert to applique down the bottom right, it's like the down at the bottom tools, left a little bit, go a little bit more, about 5 or 6 more. It's like a green.
It's the one with all the squigglies on the end.
Squigglies on it. Yeah.
2 more.
Right there. If you click on that, it's just going to create that. And you have the ability to turn on or off a placement, a tack down, or the finish.
Right. So basically, if it's going to be a, because we want the placement, we want the tack down, of course, we want the finish.
And the underlay is helpful because it adds like a zigzag, not a zigzag, but like a parallel underlay.
Yep. So
I just hit apply.
I was looking to see if it had the, because the placement and the tack down would basically be like a cut line, right? Or would that be the placement?
The placement would be, and then the tack down is indented a little, inset a little bit. You know, so if you pre-cut it, like with the cutter, it would tack it down.
Gotcha. And then you can go in and you can adjust that's the applique type, corner, start command, normal, basic. That all seems fairly simple. Width, height, position, maintain aspect ratio. I mean, it's fairly simple. Applique width. I mean, I like to go a little bit wider when I do applique.
You always have to hit apply.
I hit the enter key.
Yeah.
I learned that one the hard way. You have to hit the enter key or it doesn't work. You put in a change, you're like, why isn't it working? But now I'm using keyboard shortcuts that don't exist in this software. So we'll just pretend I'm not doing that. But now that, the outside line has been created, now we're going to start looking at the inside elements. And the next one that I could do the text right now. And that wouldn't be a problem. I could do the book or the ball. I have to obviously do the ball before I do the star. I have to do the book before I do the ball. So we'll go ahead and do the book. Let's see what color we've got the border.
And you want to get rid of part of that border?
I was just going to go over it.
Okay.
Because, why not?
It's more stitches. You can charge them for it then.
Well, sometimes it goes into that. It's faster to sew over it than it is to cut it out. Nope.
So it's like the curve starts like, so if you went in the middle of it, then you click in anyways. It's just
Shift S.
Shift C.
For close.
And then I've got my angle line here that Right now it looks like it's set at 180. I'll go about there. And now it's going to ask me for my start point, which we'll put down there, and my stop point, which I'll put up there. So far, nobody's said anything negative, so I'm assuming I'm doing it properly.
All right.
Yeah, you might want to turn off 3D view.
Yeah, so I can see underneath. Let's go ahead and it's the M key in Wilcom.
For what?
Ruler. It's the R. R for ruler.
It's right there on the left, though.
To measure, because basically I want to measure. Well, we're going to change it from inches to millimeters.
Yeah, that brings up a good point as you're measuring that. Look at the ruler and what does it tell you?
To use satin.
Yeah.
We're gonna.
So it tells you what type of stitch you should be using.
Yeah, at the width. That is pretty cool. I never noticed that. I always look at the distance and just go with that, but that is pretty neat. I like the classic satin tool myself. And I'll go there and there. Right click. Now we have that. I'm going to turn on the 3D view because it's in the same color, and I actually want that to be a darker color. Sure. Why not?
Yeah, just highlighted right now.
Oh, I gotcha. I'm like, it's not changing. This has got to be simpler than what I'm overthinking it, but there we go.
While you're doing that, I'm going to pull up a couple comments.
There you go.
I don't think we pulled up this one yet from Justin saying, hello, boys. Sorry, couldn't join you. Yeah, that's fine. We replaced you with DJ, so we're okay. We got Machine saying, hello from Carmel, California. And it's a cold 65. I'd rather have that than 90 degrees, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And then Ramona saying that she's glad that they're feeling better. And that she just started her Floriani classes. If I'm not mistaken, she's taking your digitizing master class.
So she's actually involved in both of them, the digitizing master class and the FTC-U master class. She has the software and she's been playing around with it the last few days, and I have it to where people can make comments and stuff. So we've been communicating back and forth inside of the course. So yeah, she's been finding some of the gems lately.
It's always exciting when you find something really cool that can help you save time. And if you correct me if I'm wrong, but if you buy the software at some spot, don't you get your course, or is it the other way, or am I just completely wrong?
When I sell it, if people buy it from my site, if they buy this program right here, I give it to them for free, the training. But if they bought it from somewhere else, they want to get it unless they came to the site. So,
all right, and the link for your site is in the comments up above or below, whatever direction, social media.
Yeah, I mean, and if anyone is interested in it from watching this, if they send me an email, I'll give them
they're interested in it from watching this.
Yeah, well, they might not want to after watching this because they might think it's hard to use and it's really simple.
No, it's not that hard to use. It's just you have to, anytime you change from one software to another, all the keyboard shortcuts change. The rules don't, but the keyboard shortcuts and the tools.
Yeah, and I can agree with that, especially for going, because I started out in Wilcom Hatch, moving into Wilcom Embroidery Studio. It was a little easier because the shortcut keys are all the same. So I'm a big shortcut person. So any way I can speed up my time helps. So that transition was easier. But when I started actually looking at all the different tools on there, that's where it was harder for me. So going into new software, until I learned the basics of where things are, like I know what stitch I want to do. It's just I got to find it first. And then after maybe about an hour or so of actually digitizing something, I'll be a lot better. Because Jeff, this is not your first time using the software either.
It totally is. You can't tell that I've never used this before. I mean, DJ's probably like, yeah, I can tell he's never used this before.
Yeah, exactly. But so going back into the comments, we got Suzanne saying, hey, back to you. And then Eric says, always fun to switch back and forth between control schemes. That is exactly why Jeff has a macro keypad, so that he pushes one and it's set to know what software he's in, and it does the exact same function he wants in every software, so he can cheat that way too. Or sorry.
It's called creative winning. You have to remember, it's not cheating if it's within the rule set. It might be on the edge of the rule set, but it's still within the rule set.
It's the reason why rules are made. Let's just put it that way. And then we got Letty. Yeah, I'm a little behind in comments, but this is when you guys were picking on me to go straight, no, turn, and then I screwed it up, and then Jeff took over control. So
now I do have a question, because I'm going to digitize each one of these lines individually. And I mean, granted, they are wide enough. I was going to use probably a bean stitch, but it's suggesting run, which I'm not going to disagree with. But there's a branching feature?
Yeah, I mean, yes. So if you just draw all of those lines in that color with a run stitch, after you get them all done, you can select them all and just hit the combine tool, and it will kind of like combine them into one, and it will path it. Or you can just there's two ways. If you don't want to combine it, then you just select everything, and you can like resequence and also automatically change start and end points to kind of flow the best way.
So in theory, if I take all of these,
you can just click on, and then you hit the combine up. It's kind of on that dynamic toolbar you have to the right in green. It's like a clipboard,
combine, and then that's going to automatically path.
Then you'll have like one start point and one end point, and it will just travel through it.
And then I can go ahead and apply, because I'd like to do a bean. I'd like the lines to be a little bit thicker. So every time you make a pass and thread, it makes the line appear a little bit thicker. So.
Yeah, and the cool thing is with the Floriani software, it will, if it has to path, it'll path over to the edge, but it will come back and follow the same kind of penetration points for the bean, so you won't get it like kind of poking out a little bit. That path stitch will always like kind of just remain underneath.
So here we go. Now it's a 3-ply bean, I think, is what I put. Now, is it going to do every step, how typically a bean does, where it goes 1, 2, 3, or is it going to go over everything once, backtrack over everything?
No, it goes forward, back, forward for 3.
So typically like a bean would normally.
Like a bean is supposed to.
Right. Okay. Right. I mean, I'll take that.
Otherwise, it's just a 3 pass.
Yep. There is that too, I guess. So Ramona brings up a question. When you combine it, can you undo that action? And
you could select it, and there's a break apart.
Oh, well, that's easy. I was just going to say hit Control Z.
Yeah, you can do, but if you want to do it later, you could just select it and hit break apart, which up at the top right in the green.
Right in the green. Oh, right up there. Yeah, break apart.
So everything is organized by color. So like you're rotating, combining stuff with green. All the yellow is like your transform, like alignment and distribute and stuff like that. They're kind of color coordinated by the type of tool.
Yeah, see, I'd have never picked that up on my own. I was like, don't know which tool it needs to be, but I know it's one of them. So we've digitized the book. We've done the basketball. Matt hasn't laughed at me too hard yet. He's thinking about it. DJ hasn't laughed a lot yet either, so I think I'm doing okay.
But there was a comment I was going to pull up. Candace made a pretty good remark, saying that this is her favorite software and that she finds it easier to use in Hatch. And I think the big key takeaway in her comment is saying that you get free updates. So when we were at Applique Getaway, DJ was telling me about that, how you buy the software once and you get it you get every upgrade for life, pretty much, which is awesome because other software like Wilcom, if you have Hatch, it was $300, I think, to upgrade to Hatch 3, which some people didn't like it and were going back down. So I guess that's the nice thing with this is you wouldn't have to deal with that. It's just free.
Yeah, I mean, I bought the software back in 2008, I think it was, and I'm using the same serial number. And, the nice thing about that is that, when operating systems change and things like that, a lot of times you have to, with some other software, you would have to like pay to have an update just to be able to run it on that new operating system. And so it's just nice not to have to. But it's volume. Floriani sells a lot of software, and they update it very frequently.
Yeah, I think that's kind of something important too, because if you want software that's going to stay relevant as well. So if new trends come out, or let's say there's some fancy new decorating thing, like I'm not creative, I can't think of anything, but let's say sequins just came out, they can add that and you're going to get it for free. But
so Jeff, if you drop a like a point, if you click on that line right there and go to the edit mode, double click right there and then right click off of it.
Yeah, there's a second line under there. You got to get both of them.
Yeah.
There we go.
But just so you know, I see you going up and hitting that tool, that shape edit. Select one of those objects and look down in the very center of that selection tool at the bottom. Right there, that's the edit tool. Slick.
That'll save you about,
look at around a selection. Look at all the things that you can do around that selection window. So in the like that, you can nudge up, down, left, right. That one is zoom into make that the biggest it can be. That's a duplicate, so it'll just like copy and paste it. That's edit. And the next thing is that is for you with your pen tablet. That's a right click. So if you click on that, it's the equivalent to right mouse clicking.
Oh,
so if you're using like a pen tablet and you have to like right click on something, it's just
that gives you the ability
that way
to do it. And then that's to lock the object.
Yep.
And
rotate and close the shape, I think.
That's this one, to close it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I'm leaving it open because it's a 2-path run going around there.
But you get used to that, like going that little window and how all those tools are there. It's like you go looking for them in other programs because it's so nice to have.
I won't disagree with that. It is kind of nice there. And that's something, I've noticed with software that I've used. There are tools that I don't ever use just because you don't know that they exist, which is one of the nice things like we were talking about. So I'm in the Digitizing masterclass that DJ has, and he was doing one of his lessons and he's like, every software has this feature. You just have to go figure out how to do it in yours. And I was like, no, mine doesn't have that feature. And it did. And it made my life a lot easier. But it's knowing, that those features are there and how to find them to be able to maximize how long it takes you to do something. Because the fastest digitizers I've seen are always the ones that know every tool in their software and how to utilize it.
I mean, definitely keyboard shortcuts for the digitizing tools, going from run to satin to fill to all of that without ever clicking on a button. Yeah, that's the way you can digitize the fastest, is the less that you're clicking buttons, the better.
Well, I have to slow down a little bit because we're live.
Yeah.
I'm just going to blame it on that. I have to slow down a little bit because we're live and, people need me to slow down. We're just going to say that that's the reason I go slow.
It's the same principle when you look at your actual embroidery machine. It's the slowest point when you have to trim because it has to slow down, stop, trim, move needle or whatever, and the whole process. Everyone knows what that's like. So the less of that, the less of moving your mouse off screen or your hand with a pen somewhere else. If you can keep it right there, you can save a lot of time. So that's why keyboard shortcuts, in my opinion, are a must to actually learn what they are.
Yeah, and I also, like Jeff, I have like X keys, and I love those programs for programming your keyboard shortcuts. It's very helpful and fast, especially if you're using a pen tablet. You kind of need that. But yeah.
Yeah, and that's normally what I do. It's not an X keys, it's a gaming programmable keyboard, so I can program every button.
You got the Razer Taurus, I believe, is what it is.
Yep, and I
can't use those because I'm left-handed.
That sucks.
Yeah, try to find one. Like, I guess if I go to Japan, I'll probably be able to find one. But like, you cannot. I go on Amazon looking, I can't ever find one.
When I was in Japan, the only ones I saw were all the same.
Were they?
Yeah. Sorry but you can still go to Japan and see if you find them. I mean, I'm not going to ruin your vacation.
Heading to Spain in a couple weeks.
Ooh, that'll be fun.
Yeah, I love it there. I'd move there in a heartbeat.
All right, so I have a question for you. Now, in this, if I select an object, like the glasses, for instance, and we start moving into, the column, we move into the gradients, the push-pull. Really, I want to get to the commands tab. We're getting there. Commands. So the normal command, my tie-in is basic, my tie-off is basic, right? Now, when it runs it through the stitch filter, does that, if let's say the next object is too far from the existing object, does that automatically put in a lock stitch and a trim? Or is that something that I need to go in and manually do at every point?
Okay, so up at the top in the center, you have this padlock. It's in the orange colors.
Yep,
up at the
right
top,
here.
you see it selected. With that selected, when you go to save the design, if any jump is more than 5 millimeters, it's automatically going to do a lock and a trim.
Okay.
So, and you can change that, like that distance, anything greater than a certain amount, but it will go in and add all the locks and everything for you automatically.
Okay.
But you can turn it on and off. So it's not like you don't have to use it. You can turn it on anytime, turn it off at any time.
Which is nice. There's some software I know that it's on every thing that you do, you have to add it there. And if you don't, then you're going to have problems, of course, when it's time to actually sew it out.
Yeah.
I remembered the right keyboard, but I'm proud of myself. I remembered Shift C. But because I know that it's been something that's bitten Matt before, where he had a file that it wasn't putting in lock stitches, and the machine just didn't automatically do it for him, and it caused a lot of headache.
Hey, do me a favor. Go down in the bottom left. That convert to a run stitch is the first one at the bottom left, and right click on it and choose save preset, and then just type in 3-ply bean and hit OK. So now you can you can create any run stitch. When it's selected, just right click on that tool and select that 3-ply, and it will automatically remember all those settings. So you can do that with all of those tools. Have all these different presets. It could have different densities, stitch lengths, underlays, lock stitches, trims, and it will automatically apply those to it.
Got it.
And I can show you a trick with this one too.
Is it going to be split line?
Yeah.
Good, because that's what I was hoping you were going to say.
Grab the artwork tool and just draw a line right across where those teeth, would separate. And then select it, and then hit. You see the right next to that applique button at the bottom, there's one called emboss. To the left of left a little bit more, left a little bit more, right there, embossing. Click on that. And now if you go to 3D view,
it'll drop that.
Yeah. So you can just draw a piece of artwork anywhere, and then you just hit that tool and it will stamp it and drop points.
Gotcha. Right, which is good because that's what I want. And if we
go
out view,
sometimes you don't want it to go all the way to the edge, so it gives you more control. Like there is an auto split feature of the software, but that's a great way to get it exact.
Right. So we actually have some software questions, which I'm going to defer to DJ on. So Ramona asks, if it is on the lock, will it overwrite any placement that I have made? So if she
No, it's not going to overwrite the ones that you have. It'll just kind of add ones that you might have missed. So personally, I do everything as I go when I'm digitizing. So I usually don't have it on because, I'm paying attention to that as I go. But if you're somebody that just kind of starts and you're not paying attention at times, it's good to just lock that.
Don't know.
I don't know anyone like that.
Don't know anybody like that. So Barb asked Jeff, do you use Razor TARDIS with the Wacom Satin? Yes, I do. Because it's easier. Like I have, the number one button, it's the run stitch in every program that I have. I set each profile that way so that when I do move in between different softwares, I don't really have to relearn what those keyboard shortcuts are. I just have to map them correctly to my keyboard and then try and make them all the same, which makes life a lot easier. I can tell you that.
Oh yeah.
Daryl asks, DJ, when you manually adjust stitches, how do you keep Floriani from automatically resetting them back to the original position?
So, I'm trying to see what he's saying. So when you manually adjust stitches, okay, so that's a thing called regenerating of stitches. So if there's certain things that if you move a stitch, but then you go back and change properties, it's going to reset it back to the overall shape. Because when you have to think of it this way, if you're grabbing an individual stitch and moving it, you're not moving the outline at all. The outline is staying there. So if it regenerates, it's going to go back to the outer shape. But that's also what allows you to switch between a fill, a run, a satin, and, being able to modify. But yeah, so what I always tell people is you get the settings all done first, and then you start tweaking those types of things, and you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. Wilcom is the same way because there was one design that I needed, and I was just nudging a couple nodes or stitches using the manual stitch editor. And then I was like, oh, I need to change the underlay, click underlay, and then it would reset it. And it was really annoying because I'd have to redo all that again. But yeah, so I don't think it's definitely not Floriani. It's just how
I think it's that way in every software. I mean, if we
when it's object based, working with the outlines, but you get used to that, and you just have to make sure that I make sure I get my settings exactly how I want, and then I start tweaking things.
I mean, I pulled that stitch way out right there, right? And if I go back to the applique object, which I'm going to say is that one. No,
it's the first one.
The blue one.
Like you might have had a run in there too.
That one. The first one's the artwork. So if I go to that one and I change the
Just
width
hit apply.
to 3, it's going to regenerate it.
Yeah.
Or if I change it to 3.5, it's going to regenerate it because I'm changing the properties of the entire object, and it's going to lose that individual stitch choice that I made because it has to regenerate everything else.
Yeah. So even with text, it's a prime example. I make all my settings for the text, like densities and underlays, all of that. And then a lot of times I break it apart, but I don't break it apart until I've made all the changes that I want to make to the text.
Yeah.
So that it's easier to edit further. So he's utilizing the guidelines, which is good.
One thing that drives me nuts, I don't know how many people this actually bothers in real life, but whenever I do text on a patch or a shirt or whatever, when I do the first sew out, I take like a business card and I lay it across the bottom of the text. And then I make my adjustments to the text from there, because it absolutely drives me up the wall when you get letters that, they extend too high, they extend too low, they've pulled in too much. To me, it looks unprofessional on the embroiderer that's doing it. And they might not have even digitized the file, but that's.
You want me to help you create something really quick that's awesome for that?
Mm-hmm.
Grab your artwork tool and then click to the left of the bottom S, like kind of where that guideline is. Then hold down Shift and click all the way to the right of the L. Holding down Shift will give you a perfect straight line. Okay, right click. And hit your select tool. Okay, so on the bottom left, you see that little 2-piece paper? Hit that once, and then do it again to the next one. So you're basically making 3 copies.
Mm-hmm.
But now you can move those like 0.25 millimeters apart from each other. Like you would have to nudge it and stuff. Like you would need to be able to see them. But
Hold on, I'm wrapping my brain around this.
Yeah. Well, no, don't nudge it. Move them really close and then nudge. But like you would have to zoom in. But what I do is I create one of these, and by doing this, and I save it as a custom shape. And anytime I'm doing letter, I just grab it and bring it in the software, and it's like the perfect way of. I just put that in place on the top, and I know exactly how far to go with my pull.
So, for instance, every time I nudge it up is how many tenths of a millimeter?
Like a tenth.
So if I go up 2, that's 2 tenths. If I go up 3, that's 0.3.
It should be about, you'll have to look at it, like zoom into just the line itself and grab your ruler and just measure between them.
So it's 0.1 right now. It might have something to do with how far zoomed in I am too, because I have seen that in some softwares. Is that the further you're zoomed in, the less movement a nudge does. Ooh, too far.
Do this. Right click on the ruler up at the top and remove your guidelines. That way you won't at the bottom.
Gotcha. So right now I'm at about a 0.2, which
but
going off the bottom and off the top, the 0.2 should be approximate. That give me about a 0.4, which I tend to go for a 0.5 overall.
That's what I do too. So I just manually move it a little bit more. But once you create that, and you save it as a custom shape, you just bring it in. And that's how I line up all my lettering at the end. It makes it so easy and fast. And you know it's going to come out perfect each time. But I do 3 lines. So I have one in the middle. So what I do is I know that the 2 are going to meet in the middle. So it just gives me, you can just do 0.5 and just make sure like the C touches at least the top of the top one. The H hits the bottom line so that when they stitch, they're going to meet each other.
Right. So right now I've got them both selected. Then I can just duplicate and I can.
So here's how to do it. Just like go up to tools really quick.
Oh, hold on. I got to get this lined up first. Okay.
Yeah. And
Go to
select
tools.
both of them, and then you would just go to tools, and then you just do save custom shape. It's not selected right now.
Right. I think I only drug one line too.
Yeah.
There we go. Delete that. So it would be selecting both of them like that. Tools, save custom shape.
Yep. And you can give it a name. Do 00 or something. It'll show up at the top. And now if the custom shapes is up in the left, a little bit left, one more right there. And now it's going to be right there. And you just grab it, bring it in, and just line up your text. See how much faster that is? It's like you get that done. You have a great guide to work from.
Justin, if you're watching, stop watching.
Why is that?
Because we'll eventually have a competition, and he doesn't need to know all the secrets too.
Oh. Well, I can give you lots of them. Just call me, and we'll do a private lesson. And
is that intended to Justin too?
What?
No. Okay.
No, he didn't. He hasn't purchased the software.
Oh, okay. But going back to the comments, so we had the one about the manual stitch. Mike is saying, hey, COVID crew. Yeah, that's right. Except everyone here didn't get COVID. So
yeah,
we're not the COVID crew.
So it was amazing. I don't know how the three of us didn't get it.
I'm immune, I swear, because I've been I didn't get it. But yeah, everyone that did get it, hopefully you're feeling better soon. Yeah, it's been very quiet in the nerd arena right now, so excited to have everyone back. But Cindy saying, got to go, great education, thank you guys, and guest DJ.
Yeah, thanks.
And then Barb saying that she likes the idea. Since they're Wacom, I keep saying Wilcom, they're too close. We'll be there tomorrow. But yeah, getting the Taurus thing is probably going to help you out a lot. Eric's saying the main difference between Stitch Artist is that when it does convert the blocks of stitches permanently, and that they always tell folks to save a version before they edit stitches. This is when we were talking about manually moving a stitch out, which is definitely, I don't think Jeff has actually saved this design yet, considering it says design 2. So he's making a big mistake right there. So his computer is going to give him the little spinny wheel shortly.
Yeah, and one of the things that you can do in the Floriani software, if you're not looking at adjusting it any further, like you can select anything and right click on it. Yeah, you kind of have a curved path there.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that. I blame Matt.
Yeah,
move that, and then if you find the node, like you might have to move your endpoint. But now, yeah, so with that selected, just click on like cusp up at the top, or right. No, you had it selected. It was up there, but yeah. And now you can.
Now I can draw that that way, and my stitch angle can now go correctly, like that. And then I can hit the enter key, and it should regenerate the stitches. Move my stop point, and I can nudge that over to there. There.
So you just hit control too fast when you were like you needed to do 2 straight points.
Oh, yeah. I started holding control.
Yeah,
that would be.
That's what happened.
So, in other software, I could select this and just drag it over and make a copy. Is there a way that I can easily do
Hold
that?
down Control and do it. I know we have it. Yeah.
It's like that, under Control.
Mhm.
Got it.
Wow, DJ knows what he's doing. It's almost like he teaches us professionally.
How long have you been using this software, DJ?
15 years.
That might have something to do with it too, Matt.
Yeah, I think that's longer than both of us have been doing embroidery.
Yeah,
Make
it's fun. I mean, it was fun because, you know, when I was the manager of the software and working with the programmers, you know, when you get to do something like that, like, don't tell anyone, but, you know, the great thing is you get to make the software program that you want to use. So it's like you get to build all the features that you want as a commercial digitizer and that you want to make it faster and easier. And, you know, you just work at them one at a time. And so it's fun.
And then going back to the comments, so we have one from Eric saying that he creates a compensation guide. So it was what we
cool.
on top of the text there and below it. And I don't know if you guys stated why that's important.
Well, yeah. So the biggest pet peeve of mine, and like it is the biggest pet peeve in embroidery, is when I look at a design that was digitized and the letters are not lining up exactly on the top and the bottom, where typically if you don't adjust the letter H and the letter L, well, the letter H on the top and the bottom is going to be taller than the C and the O unless you shorten it, because the stitches, like the push that'll happen. So you have to adjust for all that. So that little guide allows you to easily position each letter so that when it stitches, they're going to meet. And it is, you do have to know like about how much it's going to do it. I'm like Jeff, I do it about a 0.5 millimeter difference, meaning the O would, or the, and the word school, the C, and would be about 5 millimeters taller on the top and the bottom than the H, because the C will pull in because the stitches are going up and down. They'd pull in about 0.25, and the H would grow about 0.25. So that means that they would meet in the middle.
Yeah, you just compensate. Yeah, you're just making one more emphasize and the other one less, and then they both balance and even out.
Yeah, and so, but yeah, like I'm like Jeff, I like there to be the 0.5.
I think it's a good starting point.
Yeah.
I mean, even the tension on the machine is going to affect how much pull compensation you need to use.
Yeah, that's something I had to learn with the Melco. Like the Melco I have, it doesn't pull as much. So I actually use a little bit less when I'm stitching on that machine. So what's happening right there is that lock stitch. And part of the reason is because it's too narrow to be a satin stitch right now.
Shh. We weren't going to say that, DJ.
But we can add pull comp to it, so we can widen that.
Yeah, I mean, it's 0.9, 1 millimeter.
It's not 1. You're above it. It's about 0.8, 0.9.
Yeah, the pull compensation is going to 1.1. We'll add pull comp. It'll be okay. We just won't look at that.
All right, I'm going to bring up a comment from Mike saying, do you use the same comp guide measurements regardless of text height?
You know, if it's going to be, man, there's so many factors that go into it. Thread weight, density, how much density you use. Like if you're using like a 0.4 density, it's going to be pretty consistent. But if you use like tighter than that, you might have to add a little bit more because the push is going to push a little bit further. You know, it's just going to grow a little bit more. But it's pretty safe. Jeff, do you use that for most everything, even if you're doing like when I do really small letters, I might do about a 0.4 total in between the two instead of a 0.5.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends.
And that's because I lighten the density, though. I make it like a 0.5 for the density. So
you're
it's
opening
not
that.
going to push as much.
Yeah, I want to say I start around a 0.5 total. And then when I start going into the really small stuff, I mean, even I'll change it if my lock stitch is going to be at the very bottom, because that lock stitch is going to push it out a little extra.
Push it out, yeah.
So
it's a pretty safe bet, and
yeah,
it works really well. If you start using 60 weight thread, it's not going to push as much.
well, your densities are going to change.
Yeah, you have to up your density to compensate for that otherwise, or create that same effect.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have a comment from Antonio asking how can you do it in Racoma software?
Well, in Racoma, you do it almost the same way as you do it in. Well, I don't know if Racoma has the artwork. Yeah, so you could just create the artwork and you would just spread. If that's what we're talking about,
that's what I was wondering, if that's what this is.
So you would just use your artwork tool and you'd create, like, I like to do 3 lines, but you really only need 2. And you need those 2 lines to be 0.5 millimeters apart. And so show them how that would work. If you zoomed in and adjust that letter L at the top with the O. So take it off of 3D so you can see the.
Yep.
The background is.
Let me change the text color here to something
bright.
It should stand. I mean, it doesn't stand out as much, but
you can hide the background at the bottom.
Yep, right here.
There. But now that you have white, you can.
Hold, please. Technical difficulties. Let's do black, and then we'll hide the background.
Yeah.
And so that should really stick out. There we go. So with the L, you can see that I'm cutting it shorter right here. And then that's 0.2 millimeters of distance. So that's up there. So when this actually sews, that's going to push up approximately half that distance, and that's going to pull down approximately half that distance. And the end goal is that they're going to line up in a straight line, and you can do it this way in any software.
Yeah, so you know that one's going to grow 0.25 and one's going to pull 0.25, so that's why you'd want that 0.5 millimeters in between those 2 lines. And so anything going left to right would hit the bottom line. Anything going up and down needs to hit the top line.
Yeah.
Those stitches going up and down at the top or the bottom. So some letters go up and down on the bottom, but then they're left to right at the top. So it can look really funny, and it should look funny. If it's going to stitch out right, if it looks perfect on the screen, it's never going to stitch out good, right? So it's an art form of distortion, so, everything kind of has to look, it'll look wonky on the screen, but
maybe. I feel like maybe I gave it a little too much pull comp.
Yeah, 0.25 or
yeah. We'll go with 0.15, and that looks like the lock stitches went in. Because my stitch length between that point and that point, I forget I have to click and drag, is
1.2,
which is good as long as I've got right now I've got a center line underlay under there, so it should all work out. I might change the under the pull comp minimum. No, that's random split. Pull comp absolute millimeters. I'm not worrying about that. What I'm looking for, DJ, is travel run.
Okay, so underlay, which is the second one, and you have center line. It's not going to adjust. If you had contour,
it would.
It would, yeah.
Okay, because that's you can see as the center line comes around, it gets closer to this edge and closer to that edge. So what I wanted to do was just shorten up that stitch length so that it would follow that curve a little bit better.
Yeah.
There you go. But I could change the underlay type. I just don't, because if I put contour in, it's going to put a contour on both sides.
Yeah.
So I'd end up with 2 runs, correct?
Yeah, if you hit it, go ahead and hit it. It's going to be indented pretty far because you can change the offset, you know. But yeah, you could do it like that, but it would be like a double, run basically underneath.
Yep. And then I would have the ability there to change that to like a 1.5.
Yeah.
Hit apply, and then it should
Yep.
follow the contour of the actual letter a little bit better.
Yep.
Long story short.
Or you just get rid of it altogether and just manually digitize it too, if you wanted.
Yeah.
I could do that too.
So the other thing that you might do is, you know, I know some software programs will automatically change start points and end points as you digitize.
Yep.
This one will do that because you do have like the total quilter involved in that one. But if you select all of that 2 color 4 all at one time, if you go up to the top in the red, there is like a green dot in the upper left. Yeah, that one. That will optimize the entry and exit points. So the nice thing about that is it won't do it to everything. You can just choose what you want it to redo start and end points for to make them closest point connect.
Gotcha. So that's going to move. Like, it'll basically path this 4, which isn't going to turn out that well because of that hole. We're not going to talk about that. We'll bring that over a little ways and open that up. And I'm just actually going to click and I'm going to attempt to click and drag it. We'll see.
Click on the side of it.
There we go. And there. And now I'm going to drag it over to about there. And then that way, when it actually does so, you're going to get that. You're going to get the effect of that having a hole right there.
Yeah.
And if we remove the background, there you
So
go.
if you want to select the applique,
Yep.
you can go in the properties box there and hit the fabric. There's like 3 little dots right there. If you want to preview like a fabric in there, you could do that.
Yep. And that's going to place it inside of where the cut line would be. Sweet. Well, all that's left is to test sew, adjust, and test sew again, probably. I'm not going to say it's going to come out perfect the first time, but that's why we always test sew, right?
That's right.
So, but that brings us up on the hour. Like, that was, we couldn't have planned that better.
Yeah.
If we would have cut out me screwing up, it would have been in an hour.
Took an hour and really should have taken 20 minutes.
Yeah, right?
There is that. I mean, I wasn't going to say that out loud, but no, it's definitely, you know, moving between softwares. I catch myself thinking, okay, I know how to do this. How do I do it here? Which button do I need to hit? Which is really nice if you hover over the buttons. It does tell you what they do. So you can see, like, this is space for the pan tool, you know, R for the ruler. So you get that visual feedback, but then at the same time, you're hovering over them to see which one does what.
Yeah. And the nice thing is, like, that toolbar that's at the top center, like right there, that changes according to what you're doing. So like if you click on a satin, now you have like an edit tool. But if you go and you click on edit, that edit tool, it changes again. So now you can go right into your angle line, start point, end point. If you click on a node, you can change the node type right there. So it is dynamic. It's going to change according to what you're doing.
Right. Which is, I mean, it's neat. It's pretty cool. But that is.
And you can move it too, by the way. You could move it to the left or the right of your screen.
Well, I'm definitely going to do that now. I'm pushing the wrong button. I will get it 1-to-1.
Yeah.
Zoom to fit. First, we're going to do zoom to fit.
Yeah, the easiest way is double clicking on the magnifying glass to fit zoom to fit.
There you go. But you bring it out one-to-one. That's one thing that when you're working in different software that you have to be careful of, is because some software will dynamically generate the thread size in 3D view while you zoom in. So like this, you can see the satins look all nice and full, but when we zoom in, you can see there's gaps in there. You have to remember to look at it at scale so that you're getting an actual depiction of what it will look like when you're done, versus zooming in that far and going, I need to add, more density until I don't see those gaps, because that's how you get overly dense designs.
Yep.
So, but with that, Ramona says, I learned that in Tools for Everyone, double-click the magnifying glass to fit the page.
Oh, yeah.
There you
That's
go.
one of my lesson series, like the Tools for Everyone. Hey, just for Matt, go back to the screen.
Mine or Matt's?
Yours.
Okay.
Yeah, not mine.
And go up to help and go to the FTC-U software manual. It's the third one down. And the last section, keyboard shortcuts. There you go, Matt. You can go in there and you can check all those out, get familiar with them, because I know you like to use them.
Yep.
The T one is the one that gets me, because in Wilcom that turns on and off the 3D view. So I'll want to turn it off and I'll just hit that without thinking, and then there's text on the screen.
So I even use keyboard shortcuts for lock stitches. So there's keyboard shortcuts for that. So you can just like do a tie in, tie off, trim. And so as I'm digitizing, I'm just using those.
Mm-hmm.
So I try not to go to the properties box if I can help it.
Yeah. And that's, you can see the tie in, tie off, I-O and Control-Alt-T. So that shows there all the other tools. Yep.
Yeah, it looks like there's a pretty good list of keyboard shortcuts there too. So that's really nice to have.
But yeah, I added a lot into there.
But another thing too is like we have all these different tools. You may not know what they are. So it sounds like your lessons have some pretty good information, because it sounds like Ramona's pretty excited about the double clicking the magnifying lens. But
yeah.
Well, I mean, this is really nice too.
Yeah, going in between inches and millimeters.
Yeah.
There's some cool stuff right there that I don't know if you've even looked at. Right click on there. You've got snap to grid, snap to guidelines, snap to anchors, which anchors are like your nodes. Like, so you can snap to all those things. So there's a lot of that. Snap to move. So as you move something, it'll snap to it.
Yeah. Grid settings,
cool
which
tools
you
in
can
that.
change your spacing vertically and horizontally, which it looks like.
And colors.
Based off of that, it's 1/4 inch grid lines.
Yep.
So you can change that too, which is really cool. But there we go. That's been, I'm not going to call it Digitizing with DJ, but
it is.
Yep.
That's what it was.
I have a lot of those.
It definitely wasn't digitizing with Enderly, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But that's kind of, first takes of Floriani Total Control. I mean, I've done designs in them, but that's probably been the most efficient that I've been in it. And it's because DJ was like, hey, you're doing that the hard way. Let's do it the easy way.
Let's not be Matt. Let's be Jeff.
There you go. We'll say that. I'm pretty sure we could pull it.
Actually, I was pretty impressed with Matt for not touching the software at all, and you were getting around it pretty good.
He's got a really good live where he's working on the Chroma software, and he's like, all right, I know usually the constraint key is either Control, Alt, or Shift. So he's hitting all the keys to find out what it
I'll
does.
send you the link to it. It's comical. And then I think I finished it up by digitizing the exact same image in Hatch, and it took me like 5 minutes versus like 45 minutes or something.
Nope. But that's being familiar with your software.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah. I'm sure this would have taken DJ about 8 minutes, if that.
That's all been downloading the image from his email I sent him, so and logging into it.
Yeah. But DJ, what do you got coming up next?
Ooh, man, I leave for Corpus Christi tomorrow. So I'll be there. Then I'm going to Denver, and then I'm going to Spain, and then I'm going to Oklahoma, Texas, and Arkansas and Missouri. So
Going
traveling around teaching. So that's what I'm going to be doing, and creating a lot of content. Like I've got a lot of content to create because I give away a lot every single month. So
yeah. All right, cool. Well, we're done with Applique Getaway.
Yep.
That was our big thing, and now it's we've just been working on some back end projects to try and get caught up and get things underway. So we don't really have any announcements, but
I got a question though. Not for either of you though. It's for all of the nerds and everyone watching. Is should we give out the file that we just did in the live after Jeff stitches it out
and makes minor adjustments?
Yeah,
and major adjustments.
If that's something you're interested in, leave a comment.
Yeah, I can see it in DJ's face. Jeff's gonna have to make some edits.
Leave a comment with what type of machine you have and what type of file type you would need.
Yep.
We'll look at it.
All right.
If you don't even want it, just do it anyways, because why not?
Well, why not? Right? I guess I should probably save it then.
Yeah.
You haven't yet.
Hey, there's an auto save, so it's been about 3 minutes, so it would bring it all back up. So,
not my luck. Usually, I lost it, and now I get to do it again because I forgot to hit the Control S key. But with that, everybody, it's been really great hanging out with you. Thank you, DJ, for coming on such short notice and telling us more about the software as we struggle bust our way through it today. And with that, I'm Jeff Fuller from Fuller Embroidery Works. That is Matt Enderley from Patchface, and that is DJ Anderson from Digitizing Masterclass. And we are all here representing the Embroidery Nerd. Thank you guys, and have a great night.
Thanks.
Bye.